Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Pool Chasers podcast. Our mission is to help educate, inspire, and just overall have a good time in the form of a podcast. Our guest for episode 52 is the marketing director of Ledge Lounger, Jacy Walkup. And, when we were making arrangements to visit the Ledge Lounger team in Texas, we knew we had to get Jacy on the podcast because they just really understand social media and branding. So this is something they do extremely well, and we could just all benefit from it. And it's no secret that some of the traditional advertising strategies that we used to do just really aren't enough anymore. It's become just a little more complicated than sending out mailers, knocking door to door. I mean, social media can really help you connect with customers, drive traffic, generate brand awareness, and just, overall increase sales. And it can all be done from your fingertips. Jacy graduated from Texas A&M with a degree in marketing and has a background in fashion and has helped build one of the most iconic brands in the swimming pool industry. I would listen closely because she is more than qualified. This episode is great for all levels of knowledge in social media and branding. We promise that when you get done listening, you'll have a better understanding of these topics and hopefully a better marketing game plan. Also, 4th of July is this week. Make sure we're doing our part as professionals and keeping the pool safe, and maybe go as far as informing the customer on different safety tips. We hope you enjoy our conversation.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right. Well, we are recording here today at Ledge Lounger headquarters here in Brookshire, Texas. We have Jacy Walkup with us. She is the marketing director here at Ledge Lounger. Thank you for joining us today, Jacy.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have you guys here in the office and to talk a little bit about branding and social media.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your family, and how you got into the industry?
Sure. So I'm the marketing director here at Ledge Lounger. I have been with the company for about 3 years now. My husband and I are really big travelers. Before joining the team at Ledge Lounger, we actually lived overseas for 3 years. We lived in Japan and we lived in Europe as well. So that really gave me a unique perspective on the world. And I think it really shaped a lot of who I am today and how I see things. We still love to travel. It's our favorite hobby. This year, we're going to visit our 30th country together, which has been a goal of ours for a long time. When we're not traveling and we're not working, we hang out here in Houston with our 2 dogs.
Very cool. Where are you guys going?
Our next trip is actually to Canada.
Oh,
so
nice.
We've been to a lot of places and we haven't been to the closest country. So we're going to go check out Canada.
So you just say you stayed in like an ice hotel in Switzerland?
We did, yes.
What is that like?
Cold.
Burr.
Yeah. We are from Houston, Texas. You guys are here. You've seen how hot it is. This is pretty standard average weather for us. We don't have a winter. So we wanted to do something totally out of our comfort zone. Last year we went to Switzerland and we went to the tiniest snowy town. I cannot pronounce it. And just feet and feet of snow on the ground. The town that we went to was actually home to 900 people and 1,000 snow dogs. So that tells you a little bit about the town. And they have a hotel there that's made completely out of ice. And so you stay in a warm kind of locker room area. And then when you're ready to go to bed, you get this heavy duty sleeping bag made for people sleeping in extreme weather conditions. And you put it on and you zip it up and you go to your room where your bed and the walls and the floor and everything is made of ice.
I've seen that on TV. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Is Uber like pick how many dogs you want to pull your sled? So you want that Uber X or do you want, how many dogs you want?
Exactly.
That's funny. What's been your favorite so far?
Bali I think was amazing and that was kind of a bucket list trip for me. It's just a different world over there.
Yeah. Do things change now that you're, in the pool industry and a part of Ledge Lounger? Does that change when you're traveling? Because, Bali and, we've all seen the swimming pools and, all the lifestyle photos that anybody that goes out there, what's going on.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never thought I would know this much about swimming pools. So I'm completely new to the swimming pool industry. Before I joined Ledge Lounger, knew nothing about it other than I had a pool when I was a kid. All I really remember is that I loved it and my parents hated it. And so when we moved, it was a requirement that we not have a pool. So that was kind of my view on things for a long time. That's all I knew about swimming pools. And then I came to Ledge Lounger and learned anything and everything there is to know about pools. Still learning, of course, but I've been fully immersed in it. So yeah, it's amazing. My Instagram feed is all swimming pools. When we're traveling or when we're on the road, of course, I'm looking at the pools and I'm looking at the furniture, and we'll get to the pool and I'll walk up and like look under the chair that's on the deck to see what the brand is. And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I got to know who makes this."
I was just about to say, does he have to brief you before you go on vacation to not go into sales mode? But hey, let me talk to the hotel manager. I need to speak with them ASAP. You guys have a furniture problem.
Yeah. On the way out, I slide my business card in and say, "Call me if you guys want to change your pool up."
But it's crazy. You probably look at a lot of these properties when you go visiting and traveling that the poolside would look so much cooler and better if your guys' furniture was out there.
Absolutely. It's hard to go to a pool when they have furniture that's like falling apart or really dirty. Things that I probably would have thought about before, but not thought about as much now. And I'm more thinking about the solutions now. So I see this furniture and I'm like, well, if they would have used something made out of this material, then this wouldn't be happening. Or if they would have chosen this color, it might not be so dirty. So it's hard to turn it off.
Do you ever bring back any ideas when you're traveling? Because I feel like when you visit a different country, they just do things differently, but maybe you might see something that might be inspirational to take to the design team. Is everybody pretty open here for ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. We work really closely with product design, and I'd say everybody does. We're a very collaborative company. And so anytime I'm out on the road and I see something, or even on Instagram, I follow so many accounts for inspiration, and even accounts that are just, influencers who might not be related to the pool industry. They're still hanging out at these really amazing pools or really cool places. And so constantly saving ideas, pinning ideas on Pinterest. And then we always look to those whenever we go into product development mode.
Nice. That's really cool.
So we're sitting here in your office and you have like the Vistage plaque here on the wall. How influential has that organization been to you think, in your career?
Yeah, I've been in Vistage for about 1.5 years now, and it has just shaped me and helped me grow tremendously in who I am as a professional and in my career. What Vistage is it's a group that you meet with once a month, and it's people from all different industries and all different roles in the company. My group is called a Key Executive Group, and what that means is it's a group full of people who are either business owners or the head of a department within a business. And we get together once a month to work on the business instead of in the business. So it's really interesting because we're all in different industries. Nobody else does anything related to Ledge Lounger. We all have very similar problems. And so we talk to each other about growing the business and how to scale and how to hire and how to manage and all of these problems that you can learn from somebody who has been there, done that, and then share your experience from the things that you've been there and done. Essentially like having 15 mentors that I get to meet with once a month. So it's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. I've actually never heard of that. What are the requirements to get into a group like that?
So it's a nationwide organization. There's groups in every city, and different groups have different requirements for getting in. There's actually 3 of us here at Ledge Lounger who are in Vistage, and we're all in a different type of group. But I would strongly encourage you guys, especially as you're trying to grow this brand of pool chasers, it might be something you want to look into.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. I mean, that's why we're here, is to constantly learn and, give and take knowledge. That's what we're doing here. So anybody listening, take that, check it out, because that's what we're going to do.
Can you share with us kind of how, you got this role at Ledge Lounger? I think the story is kind of cool how Chris introduced you to the world at a trade show. Can you kind of share that?
Sure, yeah. So as far as interviewing and getting to Ledge Lounger, I wish there was some sort of glamorous story behind it. And I often get asked that, did you know somebody from Ledge Lounger? Were you in the industry? How did you get here? The honest answer to that is I was on the job market and they posted the job online and I applied and came in for an interview. It was one of the longest interviews of my life. We interviewed for a little over 2 hours. And I remember walking away and thinking that was either a really good sign or a really bad sign. I guess it was good because I got the job and I'm here still. But my first day with Ledge Lounger was actually at the Southwest Pool and Spa Show. So I hadn't really been officially hired yet. I hadn't really met anybody on the team except Christopher and Dylan, who I did my interview with. That's our founder and our VP of operations. And
That was it?
that was it. Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
Chris,
What year was this? Do you remember?
So Chris,
What year was this? Do you remember?
So it was 2016.
Okay.
And it was right around January, because the show is usually at the end of January, early February. Chris called and said, the Southwest Pool and Spa show is next week, and trade shows are going to be such a big part of your role, and we'd love for you to just come and see the show in action and get to meet the team. So I hit the road the next day and went to San Antonio and showed up and met everybody else on the team and stood in the booth and I got to talk to some customers. I talked to people who were coming up to visit the booth. By the end of the day, I think I was, doing the sales pitch. Hey, have you guys heard of Ledge Lounger?
Nice.
Yeah. And then Chris walked me around to every booth there to kind of give me an intro to the lay of the land, who's who, this is the company who does this is the company that does this. And there's really no one better to learn from, in my opinion. If you're listening to this, you probably may have heard of Christopher Anderson. He's our founder. He was a pool builder before, so he has really deep roots in this industry before he founded Ledge Lounger. So he really taught me everything there is to know about the pool industry.
That's awesome. Christopher is an amazing guy. We were lucky enough to have him on the podcast and do some other things around here. We went on a tour and, he's just got so much passion and love for what he does here and bringing the industry up. So it's an honor to be with him and all the, people that are here because you're all amazing. So I do want to go back real quick. What did you do in terms of preparation for that day at the Southwest Pool and Spa Show? Because I think that is huge. There's a lot of people that maybe get that opportunity, but didn't, go on their website or look at the catalog, or maybe there wasn't much information then, but whatever you did have, were you studying it prior?
Yeah, so I definitely did as much preparation as I could. I remember being fairly nervous going into that, thinking, man, I'm really just being thrown into the fire here. So any resource that I had at my disposal, I spent a lot of time studying it. So I combed through the entire website, combed through the entire catalog, just try to find out as much as I could about the company. I visited their Facebook page, their Instagram page. I went and learned about their products and about their story. As much information as I could get my hands on walking into that to be as prepared as possible.
So we know things can be a little bit difficult in the earlier days of a startup. Did you have any idea what your role was going to be at that time?
A little bit, and I was the first marketing member hired onto the team. We know that marketing was an area we wanted to put a lot of focus in, and there was a lot of opportunity there. But we weren't sure what other kind of team members or skill sets that we might need on the team. So we've now grown to a team of 5. But yeah, at the beginning, there was a lot of other tasks that you wouldn't think of as being a marketing kind of role. Like, for example, I started packing pillows. So pillow orders would come in and they would give me the BOL and I would get the pillows off the shelf, put them in the box and send them out. Well, that might not be necessarily something that you think of as coming into a role as a marketing manager, but at the same time, it gave me an opportunity to learn about that process and to see the packaging going out and then make improvements to how the presentation was put together in the packages that reached our customers. So I kind of took every opportunity like that to really learn. And we're still a pretty small business. We've grown a lot. We have about 40 employees now, but we're still a small business and we still do a lot more beyond our job titles. When we're hiring and when we're looking for new people to join the team, that's one of the key characteristics that we look for, is that we're looking for people who are willing and able to go above and beyond what the job description says.
Right. Not somebody to say, that's not my job.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things to hear as a manager. I never want to hear those words come out.
I don't get paid enough for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are rough.
Really? I think you took a 20-minute longer lunch break today. Also don't pay people for that either.
I think you just got to lead by example in those situations and do it yourself. And then hopefully your team sees you doing that and picks up on it. But sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Just sit there and do what they want to do.
We were talking about this yesterday. How's it been just being the first person in marketing and seeing this Ledge Lounger brand evolve over the years? How has that experience been?
It's really amazing to think of where we were and then where we are now. And we've grown pretty organically in that we kind of tried to do a lot of everything and then made sure to analyze what worked and what we were getting a good ROI on and what we really needed to put more focus on. And that's how the team grew. So now our team members have specialties from graphic design to social media, web development, and we wanted to grow in-house. That's something really, really important to what we do here at Ledge Lounger. We don't outsource any of our marketing. We make everything. So every social media post that you see, every piece of printed material that you see, it's all made by us, even down to the photos, down to our trade show booths. That's something that I think a lot of companies might outsource or say, we're going to get a trade show designer, a booth designer, or even a labor crew to come set it up. And we really believe in doing everything ourselves. And so we've built a team around that. And it kind of goes back to being willing and able to do more than the job description might ask you to.
Right. That's incredible. I know you were showing us yesterday the like everything that's in one of those displays at the trade shows is in that box.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh my gosh, there's like so many pieces and so much going on there. But you guys do that all in-house every time you go to the trade shows. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. We arrive to a carpet square and a bunch of crates, and then we get to work and make it happen.
Right. Oh, buddy, we got a special announcement here.
Yes, we do.
So our friends at Jandy are crushing it with their push to quit the internet.
Crushing it.
We recently made a special trip to San Diego to see their new facility, which is amazing. But most importantly, to get an update on their progress with catching online violators. We had the opportunity of sitting in on their enforcement meeting, and let me tell you, this was taken a lot more seriously than we thought it would. They showed us a chart of violations and, their progress from January till now. They're at 82% attainment of compliance. Meaning from day one when they started policing and enforcing to today, they have reduced the number of Jandy violations online by 82%.
It's simple. The customer wants to go online and save a few dollars by purchasing their equipment online. This is something that we've all gone through as service professionals, and Jandy's heard the cry. They've taken a stand and they've supported our industry. They understand that only a qualified pool professional should work around electrical, gas, and hydraulic connections. I mean, have you even seen a customer work with that kind of stuff?
I have, and it's not pretty.
Definitely not pretty. Jandy's warranty will not cover any Jandy equipment that is not purchased, installed, and or serviced by a pool professional. This will save you guys time and money by allowing you to avoid those awkward conversations with your customer and let you focus on the part of the business that you do best. If you want to find out more details, listen to episode 31 of the podcast or go to jandy.com/builtstrong. That's jandy.com/builtstrong.
So what were you doing prior to your job here at Ledge Lounger? And do you think your previous work college experience prepared you for what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So I have a marketing degree, and it was a little bit of a crooked path. Not all of my roles have been directly in marketing, but I started with a marketing degree from A&M. At the time, I wanted to have a career in fashion, and marketing was kind of a more practical side of that. A&M didn't have a fashion program, but they had a certificate in retailing studies. So I got that. It was essentially a minor in retail. And then I went into the fashion retail industry. And that's what most of my roles prior to Ledge Lounger were geared towards. It was always in fashion retail. I've worked for some really big companies as well as some really small companies. And then at one time, I even owned my own business. It was actually an online boutique, and I operated it completely on social media. So no website, no store, no nothing. We did everything on Facebook. That obviously comes into play here with my role as marketing director, knowing the ins and outs of social media and some of the challenges. I also ran my own blog for a little while because my husband and I lived overseas, and I just wanted to keep my writing skills sharp and keep going, and it's something I really enjoyed doing. So that also gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit about writing content and how to drive some traffic, and even down to SEO and a little bit of coding as I was kind of personalizing that blog. So it was a personal project, but I got a lot of professional skills from it. And then even my background in fashion comes into play a lot here at Ledge Lounger. We do a ton of trend watching. We always want to make sure that we're seen as a stylish company and kind of forward thinking. So we're always looking for what's next.
Yeah, I think those are like the perfect ingredients in making like a good marketing department. Because I think when you have like a good style sense and you can look at a magazine or a picture or be in another country, you have a different appreciation for the way that, the typography is on this sign and the age of this and that painting. And that has a has a lot to do with even the way that we do social media and the stuff that we do. We're always looking at, history and the trends and different things like that. But you all have really, nailed that down. And when it comes to, I don't really know how to word this the best, but I know creative writing is insanely important. Do you have any, tips for that? Were a lot of the things you learned in creative writing in college, or was this just kind of, you just constantly write and write and write and you get better as you go? Is there any tips for that?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't something that I really studied in college or had any formal training on. And I think that shouldn't discourage people from doing it. Like I said, I liked to write, so I just found a platform where I could do it. And I think writing is such an important skill, especially in marketing. You've got to be able to push content out, and you've got to have some writing to do that.
Is there any apps that you all like to use? I know I like Grammarly on my desktop. I don't use it on my phone yet, but Grammarly helps quite a bit just because might try and say something and I'm not sure if it's going to come off the right way, but at least it's spelt correctly.
Yeah.
And, all the grammar's on point.
Yeah, we definitely use that too. We use Grammarly as
well.
Nice. I mean, spell check, so important.
Yeah.
So important. The last thing you want is to spend so long making a catalog and making everything perfect and beautiful to find a typo or a spelling mistake in it.
Yeah, that's stupid there.
3 different ways.
There's a handful of people that know what I'm talking about.
I think you're right. I didn't go to school to write either, but I was taught, I learned how to kind of write and coordinate all that and communicate with people through writing. And it's definitely a skill set you can develop and create without going to school for it.
Yeah. I was reading an article the other day. I follow a ton of marketing blogs, and they were talking about the importance of writing and how a skill that everyone going into marketing should learn is to take a concept and write an article about it in a paragraph, and then write it in 3 sentences, and then write it in 1 sentence. And I think if you can master that skill, that gives you so much leverage to be able to take whatever it is you're trying to accomplish and go from a blog to Facebook to Instagram to the website and just mold it for whatever platform that you're using it on.
Yeah, most definitely. It's funny when my daughters are talking to me, I always try to pick up on the way they communicate because it's crazy, especially my 6-year-old. She can say what I would say using so many words, she says in 5 words. And I understand right away what it is. I just write to it. And it's I can't use those words, but I'm inspired by that boldness. How can I be creative with what you just said? Because, kids are they don't have all these other, things in their head. They're just clear and they're just bold.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing too. What are maybe just a couple, make it real quick, what are just a couple questions that you would ask, say, when hiring a social media person? Because we know that comes up a lot where people need to hire somebody in social media. What are just, a couple, 2 or 3 questions that you might ask somebody?
So number 1, I always want to know what is their favorite platform to use in their personal life, because that also tells you a lot about what kind of person they are and how they like to interact. So someone who loves Twitter is probably a lot more, maybe less visual and more text-based and more factual. People get on Twitter for a lot of news sources, those kind of things. And then if they like Instagram, that might tell me that they're a little bit more creative and a little bit more visual. So I always want to know what their favorite platform is. And then I always ask, who are some accounts that you like to follow or that you look to and think do a really good job on social media? Again, just tells me a lot about where you're getting your inspiration from. And it's important that you are taking the time to get inspiration. Look to those accounts and look to people who are doing it really well so that you can implement that into Ledge Lounger.
Right. And I don't know how you would even word this, but it's can you stay focused? Because I feel like in marketing, it can sometimes be extremely difficult to stay focused because marketing is a whirlwind of stuff. And, myself, sometimes it gets really difficult because you have to be a creative and think of different things, and you have to stay on the same page and move forward. But it can sometimes, be difficult. And that's why I see some people, you all. Watching Chelsea take all the different pictures and stuff for Instagram was really cool. But, you know, it takes a special kind of person to just know what the mission is and, you know, stay on that path and just keep plugging along and not get too caught up in your head and then nothing happens.
Yeah, social media is a slow burn. It's a long process that takes a lot of focus and a lot of perseverance. So yeah, you don't want that person who's going to say, well, you know, I didn't get 1,000 followers yesterday, so let's stop doing this and move on to something else. It's about, you know, trying different things, putting different things out there and seeing what's effective and what's not. And even if something isn't a home run, that's okay because we're trying it and we're learning from it. And now we know we need to do that again or we need to tweak it and do it differently.
Yeah, when I think of like training for social media, I want to set up like, you know, one that says, you know, posting and then there's like cones that you're like running through. Like, I feel like there's like so much practice and training and patience that goes into it, but it's hard to discuss that with people because I personally find it weird, like doing stuff on my phone that's for it. I know how important it is, but I always feel like people think it's really disrespectful when you're, you know, like what we were doing last night, you know, not trying to be rude and like block certain people out, but those things are really important to what we do. And it's finding that balance and knowing that there's a time and place for everything. And that's something that, you know, a little piece of advice I'd give is, you know, no matter what you're doing, lay out your goals ahead of time and do your best to follow through with it no matter what's going on, no matter who's there, like get through it the best you possibly can and, you know, kind of enjoy yourself afterwards.
Especially if it's at an event, which when you're at an event, social media is so important. Like if we're on set at a photo shoot or last night when we were doing the fireside chat, it's so important to get those moments because a lot of planning and preparation goes into staging those moments and into making them happen. And if we don't capture it, then there is no point to it, but
Right.
It's so hard to multitask. You've got to be able to focus on more than one thing at once. And I think some of that stigma is going away and I hope that it continues to, but you're absolutely right. There is kind of some people might think, oh, you're just on your phone, you're not paying attention, but actually you're doing your job and you're making things happen. It can definitely be misinterpreted.
I think we should make a cell phone case that says, I promise, or shh, I'm working, you know, so let people know like, no, I promise I'm not doing fun stuff. I'm working.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm out with friends and I have to hop on Instagram or something, I always want to be like, this is my job. I'm sorry. I have to do this. I'm not just
it must be
being
nice.
rude. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. But I really respect what, you know, you all did, especially last night. We were lucky enough to be near the fire, keeping the mosquitoes away, but you all were, you know, behind the camera and making sure that everything was going right and the bugs were
swarming.
They were swarming. That is understatement. It was rough. You know?
Something we don't really see in Arizona for sure.
Everywhere you look, I think someone's waving us down, but they're just batting like, because I kept seeing out of the corner of my eye, I thought somebody was waving, but I started to realize like everybody is like batting these like mosquitoes. I'm like, what? Who keeps waving at me? It's like, no, it's these damn mosquitoes.
Yeah. So a little bit of background on last night's event. We hosted a poolside chat with the pool chasers and a few clients and a few other pool builders. Just had some good conversation about trends in pool design and where the industry is going. But the bugs definitely brought another level of multitasking that we did not expect or plan for. So it was like social media, taking notes, watching the camera, and then fighting the bugs.
It was really cool to hear other Texans complaining about it because we were like kind of not wanting to say too much because we're like, oh, maybe this is just a Texas thing. I don't want to say anything. But then people were like, man, what is up with all this, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh, thank you. Yeah, what is going on? Want to give a shout out to Decorative Pool and Landscape and Paragon Pools for being there with us last night. That was a really good time. Just give you guys a little plug because that was a really good talk and I had a really good time doing that. So thank you so much for setting that up.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the video and the footage from it.
So we know marketing really isn't for everyone. Why exactly did you choose this path and what do you like most about it?
So first and foremost, I love business. I kind of see it as a game, and I think it's one of the most exciting and interesting games you can play in life. I've always been a very naturally business-minded person, going into marketing, I really saw it as a blend of communication and analytics. And that's kind of rare in a career that you get both. There's a lot of roles where you're on the front lines and you're always communicating. There's a lot of roles where you're on the back lines and you're doing a lot more of the analyzing and the behind the scenes thing. But really, marketing is such a blend because you're creating all of these pieces and all of this content that faces the world, and it has to look good and it has to sound good, and it's all about communication. But then on the flip side of that, you've got to analyze it, you've got to track it, and you've got to be able to read between the lines of the numbers and study those and figure out what's working and what's not working. And that really feeds into my skill set and my personality. So as much as I love people and I'm a really social person, I also can spend hours behind an Excel spreadsheet just analyzing data. So I really went into marketing because I loved both sides of that coin, and I wanted a career where I could do that.
Yeah, that's crazy because I'm definitely not a person to spend hours behind an Excel sheet. But, the numbers don't lie, and I think that's really important, having somebody on the team that is constantly paying attention to the, real deep analytics and the numbers, because they don't lie. I think sometimes, me in the past didn't want to look at that so much because I didn't want it to tell me something I didn't want to see or hear. I didn't want to know that the things that I really enjoyed about what I was doing weren't working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you look at that data, it's pretty clear. I mean, you have some stuff around here where you guys are paying close attention to what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta dig deep in that and make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're putting out the right message.
Yeah.
So, Ledge Lounger obviously has a real iconic brand in the industry now. Did it develop organically, or did you mold it for a particular demographic?
Thank you. It's something that we work very hard on every single day. But from the very beginning, our founder had a very clear vision of what the product was for, and also a really good understanding of the pool industry because he was a pool builder before he founded Ledge Lounger. If you haven't heard his story, his episode is episode 29. You can go back and hear about his story and how he founded Ledge Lounger. But yeah, he had this really clear vision, and we still spend so much time analyzing who is our customer, who are we reaching, how old are they, where do they live, what are their interests, what else are they doing when they're not spending time in the pool. We spend a lot of time trying to just get inside their brain and understand them. So we kind of started with these parameters of who we thought they were, but no doubt we monitor them very closely to see if that ever changes along the course of the business.
Tyler, you know what I saw today?
What'd you see today, Greg?
A husband and wife inside MPT looking to pick out some new tile for their new pool. And you know who was there to help them?
Who?
An MPT expert. And the process seemed to be going pretty smooth.
Well, yeah, I mean, MPT Design Center is the place to go for pool tile, pool finish, hardscapes, and outdoor kitchens. I mean, whether you're building a pool, remodeling it, or just dreaming about it, you can check out their website at mptpool.com to locate an MPT Design Center or showroom near you.
And for all you pool professionals, builders, designers, send your customers to MPT for professional design assistance and product samples they can take home. On the mptpool.com website, you'll also find a wealth of photographs to show what MPT products will look like when they're installed. Plus, you can download a copy of the MPT tile and pool finish catalogs or order a printed copy to be mailed to your home.
So download the MPT mobile app to select products, save favorites, and email them directly to your pool builder. And be sure to follow MPT Pool Products on Instagram and Facebook for the latest photos and product information. All right, so we want to kind of jump into some social media discussion. A lot of times in our industry, people can be behind in a lot of different ways, and obviously we're trying to bring that to light and elevate the industry. So, can you explain in a short way what social media is? And then if you don't use social media or you're not using it for your business, where do you start?
Sure. So what is social media? That's a really hard question to answer because it's such an everyday part of my life and of all of my friends' lives and of Ledge Lounger's life. But I realize that there's people who are still unsure about it, who are still not on it. But essentially, social media is everything. It's a way that people are talking to their friends. It's how they're keeping up with their families. It's how people are getting news. It's where they're going to get inspiration. If they're doing something in their house or starting a project or looking for a new job or going shopping, it's kind of a go-to source. And It becomes more and more so as we are starting to see kind of the more traditional mediums become less important, like TV, magazines, newspapers. Some of those are still relevant. Some of them are becoming less relevant than they were a few years ago. But social media really is all of those things rolled up into one, and it's on your phone and it's at your fingertips 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it's crazy that you don't even have to leave your office or your house, and you can make sales, you can build relationships, you can make friends, you can think about what you used to do before even there was the internet. You know, you would go to a networking group, bingo, whatever is out there, like this is what it is now. Whatever it is that you want to do, if you want to make friends, you can connect with people because you can get a feel for their style, the things that they enjoy, just the kind of person that they are. But you can also do sales really well because you have all your products on there. It could be a lifestyle brand like you all have, and people can connect with you. They can direct message you. They can find the address if they're nearby and pick something up. There's all these different call to actions. And you can even, now send a link in the direct message. If they're asking, where can I buy this? You can send them a direct link. So you can seal these deals and connect with people much quicker, much faster than you ever could before. That's the way, I think we all look at it.
Yeah. And, I talked about my background in fashion and in fashion retail, and kind of sadly, that's an industry that's hurting a lot. A lot of people don't want to go to the store and go shopping. And it's because it's now so easy to shop online, especially with platforms like Instagram and Pinterest. You can not even know that you're looking for something, and the next thing you know, you're putting in your credit card information and it's getting shipped to your house. It's just so easy and convenient to make purchases on these kind of platforms.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it, is how you're using social media, because that is the majority of people. The way that you're purchasing things, whatever your habits are on social media and Amazon and all these different things, there's a reason why these companies are so successful, is because there's billions of other people doing exactly what you're doing. And I always think that being in marketing, I know what you're trying to do. So even if they get through to me and I buy something, I'm like, damn, they're good. And there's almost nothing you can do.
I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not going to be a sucker for marketing. You can't get me. But then there's these companies and these brands that get through, and I'm like, man, they have some good marketing.
Yeah.
Here I am buying the product.
Yep. Maybe I do need those.
So if somebody wants to start using social media and Instagram for their business, what do you suggest they start with doing?
So that's a great question. And my answer is not to go straight to Facebook or go straight to Instagram, or I can't tell you the platform that you should start on. And honestly, no one can. Where I think you need to start if you are brand new to social media is start with figuring out who your audience is. So how old are they? Where do they live? What do they like? What do they do in their free time? And then figure out what platform they're on. That's probably the platform that you need to start with. So you can ask your friends, or you can find people in your target demographic and just talk to them about what social medias do they use. The second thing I would do is start using it for yourself. So if you don't use social media in your everyday life, then I wouldn't just jump into it from a business perspective. I would get on it personally. Again, follow your friends, follow your clients, follow your prospective clients, and learn the lingo. See what these people are talking about. See how they're interacting with different people. Follow some accounts that you think are doing a really good job. Follow your competitors and see what they're doing. And then really spend a lot of time just getting to know the ins and outs of whatever platform it is that you think you want to venture on for your business. I would also say that you want to make sure that you know what your goal and objective is for getting on social media in the first place. So are you trying to get people to your website? Are you trying to get people to pick up the phone and call you? Do you just want people to know about your business? Figure it out what it is you want to accomplish, and then make sure that you're set up for that, because you got to make sure that if you're trying to get people to call you, your phone number is where it needs to be, and it's published and it's accessible so that you can drive those type of conversions. And if you want people to click over to your website, make sure that when they click over to your website, they're getting to a good quality website with good information so that they understand what it is that you do.
Yeah. Do you suggest people maybe start one platform at a time when getting started? If you're really kind of new, should you kind of, jump into the top, 3 to 5 platforms? Or should you kind of just, dive into one and really understand the ins and outs of it? Maybe watch some YouTube videos, obviously listen to the podcast and all these other different mediums that are out there. But what do you suggest for that?
It really depends on what you're comfortable with, but I would not underestimate how much time you need to put into learning the ins and outs of social media. So if you're going to start with Facebook, be prepared to spend hours a day, usually, especially at the beginning, figuring out your content and your post schedule and making the post and then analyzing it. You're going to spend a lot of time doing that. So if you have the time to devote to doing 2 platforms at once, several hours a day, and really giving them a lot of focus, you could maybe do 2 at once, but a lot of people don't have that kind of time. The reality is we're all busy. We're all getting on social media as a business because there's a business to be run. So I would say starting with 1 is never a bad idea, and really, really learn, like I said, the lay of the land and learn how to do what it is you're trying to do. But start slow and be ready for an uphill battle. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. So stay focused and stick with it, even if your account doesn't take off right from the beginning.
Right. And I think it's, especially for Facebook, if you can't spend all the time that you need in, posting and ads and all the different things that go into it, I think it's really important to at least have a nice looking landing page with a good profile photo, good, cover, like a banner on there, all your contact information. Because a lot of people, they want to stay on Facebook. They're shopping on Facebook, they're connecting with family, they're playing games, they're messaging, they're doing all these things. So at least having, kind of like a little storefront where people can call or email or whatever it is that you do, at least start off there. And, with time, you can always probably go back and, start posting and having some type of strategy. Because I know there's so many times that we're already on Facebook and we're using it as our Google to kind of look for somebody or look for a company, and you go in there and it's like they're not there, or it's just really kind of stale. And it's like, at least keep that fresh. You might not be posting all the time, but sometimes people are using this as a search engine, and just, having a nice little landing page that we can go to and find your contact information.
Yeah, you're exactly right that it is a storefront. And if you were building a store, you would put a lot of time and energy and effort into making sure that store looked really nice before customers started walking in the door. That's kind of what you have to think of when you're building your Facebook or your Instagram page. It's the same idea. It's the first impression that people are getting of your business. So just make it look really nice and take the time to make sure that you set up everything correctly. Get your business info in the right position. Get your website up there, your phone number, your business name, and a couple of great photos to really give a good first impression.
Right. And I know a lot of people listening to this are probably like, there's no way in hell I can do all that. We'll tell you that you are getting tips from, Jacy, which is amazing at her job and has built this amazing brand. But coming from the service side, the success that we've had, it didn't come with blending it in during the day. You really, I'm not going to sit here and say that this stuff is easy to learn. You're going to have to grind it out at night, and you're going to have to put tons of time into listening to podcasts and doing research, Googling stuff, watching YouTube videos, paying attention to your demographic, and, looking at the analytics that these social platforms will kick out for you to really understand best posting times and things like that. But just, you need to know that this is not, you're not going to learn it and blending it in with your day. Because at the end of the day, if you're cleaning pools or you're running a company, first and foremost, you're making sure that that company is running the way that it needs to, and you're being progressive. But you need to carve out time. Anybody that wants to be somebody and building that brand and social media presence, there's time. You're just going to have to find it somewhere.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people go into social media and they see the really big accounts and they think it's going to be a really easy trek to get there and it's going to happen really quickly. And that's just usually not the case unless you get really lucky and you get tagged by Ellen DeGeneres or something. It's like winning the lottery on social media, but that doesn't usually happen. We spent years trying to get to the number of followers that we have, and we spend hours and hours per day and per week on this. And luckily we've grown our team in that it's now someone's mostly full-time job to do social media and to really focus on that. But there is a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes into everything from planning and scheduling, doing the post, the actual execution. You've got to be interactive. You've got to be ready to comment back with people and answer messages, as well as go and interact with people outside of your own page. So liking everybody else's photos, commenting on other people in your industry. And just like you were networking and you're trying to build a group of friends, that's how you've got to approach social media.
It's insanely full-time, and I don't think people realize how full-time it really is. I can't believe that people are still willing to get a van of people for their, their church, their landscaping business, their whatever it is that they're pushing, and they're going to knock on my door in 2019 and think that I want to talk about that. You're like, do you know that Instagram exists? You could have found that I lived in Scottsdale, DM'd me, you know what I mean? Like done it the right way, which is follow me, like a few pictures, comment on one, then slide in with a DM. Hey, just want to say what's up, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, well, I just opened up my, barbecue shop. Here, come check it out. Oh, what the heck? That is the way we work now. You knock on people's doors, it could get crazy. But if you DM them, that's totally acceptable. And not coming off as a bot and coming off as like a human being is another important element. But it's crazy that there's still so many companies that put millions into going door to door and doing all these different things, when that human being that walks up to a house, knocks, and then walks, and then goes, door to door to door, that is pretty much what you can do on social media. There's something different about, the doing it in real life. I feel like you have to build a relationship with somebody before you can, physically go to their house and do that. It just doesn't seem like that's the way that you do things anymore. And I hate that, social media gets dismissed so easily when it comes to like sales and different things like that.
Yeah. And sadly, in the world that we live in, I don't know that knocking on people's doors is a really good approach these days. If my door gets knocked on, I'm usually kind of freaked out. That's just something that people don't usually do. We live in Texas. Don't go knocking on random doors. But, not to scare people away with the amount of time that goes into it, because there is a payout and there is a trade-off. So if you really think about how many people you have the potential to reach on social media is so big. And you're right. If you were going to do something else that reaches that many people, you're going to be putting significant time, significant energy, and significant budget into reaching the amount of people that once you kind of build a base and get a rhythm and get your audience growing, you can start to do that just by posting a picture.
That's very good. Thank you.
So I want to take a minute to introduce our newest sponsor and supporter, Ledge Lounger.
Oh yeah, really excited and thankful to have y'all on board with us.
Yeah, we actually recorded an episode with Christopher Anderson, the CEO and founder of Ledge Lounger. It is actually episode 29, so if you have not heard it and to understand more of the story, go check it out.
Definitely one of our favorites. So I think the easiest way to describe their product is they make a high quality outdoor furniture that looks amazing, especially by the pool. Their signature product is a chase, and I can't think of a more iconic piece in our industry than that.
Definitely.
The chase sits in the water on Baja or Sun Shelf. You might notice people tanning on these on Instagram, and their feed is just blowing up with thousands of likes and comments.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen those.
So probably rings a bell now.
Yeah, so we just actually recently went to Brookshire, Texas to meet up with the Ledge Lounger team. We took a tour of the facility and really got to understand the company and culture so much more. Everyone was so full of energy and excited to be part of the team, and they all did their jobs flawlessly. We also actually recorded an episode and did a fireside chat, which will be another episode, so stay tuned for those.
And they just came out with a line of games. And these games are made out of the same high quality materials as our outdoor furniture. And, they're designed to go poolside just like the furniture is, which is really cool. And while we were there, we were able to test drive one of their new games, the ping pong table. And let me tell you,
yes, please tell us.
I don't know if you saw on our Instagram IGTV, but I was passing out whoopings on their ping pong table.
Oh my!
I mean, Tyler and Jacy, they just, if you see the IGTV, you'll know they just didn't stand a chance. I mean, I really felt like Forrest Gump in his prime.
Oh my!
Just kidding. Y'all tried. I mean, you do get an A for effort.
Oh, thanks. So anyway, if you want to find out more about Ledge Lounger, go to ledgelounger.com. So how long do you think it takes to build an audience on social media and Is there a way to do it quickly? And we obviously know there's a wrong way to do it quickly. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Growing an audience on social media is a process, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance. It is definitely not something that happens overnight. And I think that's the way that people can get easily discouraged, is if they think it happens overnight and then it doesn't happen quickly for them, then they might give up and quit. But I think it's encouraging to know that everybody starts with 0 followers and everybody has to work their way up. A little bit of context from our experience here at Ledge Lounger. I went back and looked at some of our early stats today so I could give you guys a little bit of background. In 2016, we really weren't putting a lot of energy into social media. Over that year, we grew less than 1,000 followers, which is over the course of a year. So we were still putting some effort into it, but just not a lot. It wasn't our focus. The next year, we started to put more of a daily focus into it, and we really spent a little bit of time on there every single day. And over that year, we tripled our following. So it just takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of focus, and it can go a long way. And then you really start to pick up some momentum. So hitting 10,000 followers on Instagram was a goal of ours for a long time. It probably took us 2 years to climb to that benchmark. And I'm really glad we stuck it out. And now that we've hit that mark, we definitely see the momentum really picking up and we're growing faster and faster. But it definitely did not happen without a lot of hard work and a lot of hours.
Right. And I think going about it the right way, you're just going to have, a more quality brand. I feel like people don't realize how sketchy it looks when you jump from 500 followers or 1,000 followers to like 15,000 overnight. You think people don't see that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Especially somebody like me, I dive deep into the people that are following you and looking at their accounts. And you can tell who's using bots and who's not using bots, even through different software. But even if you swipe over, because I'm interested in what the customer thinks about companies, and when you swipe over and you're having bots automatically like photos that are using hashtags and different things like that, and they're liking some inappropriate things that you don't know about because it's a bot, that makes your brand look really bad. Because I still do it, and I see a lot of companies out there that are liking some very inappropriate stuff that they probably have no idea that it's liking, from 8 o'clock at night till 2 a.m. But it's really, I think, important to know what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to have longevity? Are you trying to do this super quick because you're trying to sell it? Because I guess in that regard, I would somewhat understand, because you're trying to give it some more appeal. But it's like, what are you trying to do? What is your goal at the end of the day? And if it's to have an organic following with real people behind it, because I don't think it's so much the following. I think it's about the people that are following you and the kind of interaction that you have. If it's just a bunch of people that don't really care about what we do, that just makes this whole confusing, and it messes with our data, because the data is confused. Because my people are 5%. If I bought 15, 20, 50, 100,000 followers, that data is not correct. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for pool professionals. I'm looking for this age. I'm looking for this. But, 95% of these people are bots. They're fashion bloggers. They're, a part of these different following groups. They're doing all these different things, because at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. And if you're not getting the right data, you're not going to get the results that you want.
Yeah, I think bots are very tempting. And to give everybody listening a little bit of background, a bot is some sort of automated service where you can either buy followers, or you can pay for people to like your photos, or you can set up bots that will go out and automatically, as your account, like or comment on other people's photos to get you more engagement. It's essentially an automated way that a lot of people think will accelerate their growth on social media. But just like you said, it's not organic and it's not real. So at the end of the day, if you get 10,000 followers that are just robot accounts, does that really do anything for you? You want to make sure that you're reaching the right people. And I think the only way to really do that is to have engaging content and to just work hard at it and actually engage with people. consumers are really smart. People who use social media are really smart.
Yes, they are.
You can't get away with some sort of automated message that says, hey, cool, I like your picture. People are going to pick up on that and unfollow you or block you. So just take the time to carve out a few hours and actually go in as yourself and talk to people and connect and grow your audience that way.
People get our attention so much more when they actually say our names and like, hey, Greg and Tyler, I really liked episode whatever. I had a quick question about this. This is my company too, if you ever want to check it out. Like, that is personal, not, hey, bro, this post is fire. Like, way to keep it 100.
100.
Like, I'm like, what the heck is this? It's like some real estate company group or whatever. It's like, dude, like,
different country.
You need a, how well does this really work? Like, because this is just crazy.
If Instagram finds out too, you can get...
You can get your account pulled for sure.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They'll
put you on the beach.
Yeah, or they'll clean them out. So you might have 10,000 followers and then a week later you're back to 5 because they're wiping out all of these accounts. They're always looking for suspicious activity.
Yeah, and more than ever, I would be more nervous about that kind of stuff because, as most people know, Facebook bought Instagram, and there's a lot of people that that had built up Facebook and their privacy settings that are shifting over to the Instagram side. And it's just a matter of time because they're really cracking down on privacy on Facebook, and it's just going to get crazier. And when they come to Instagram, they might do some house cleaning. And if your account is not legit and they got to meet some quotas, I do not want to be. I want to play by their rules because they know more. They know more than I do. So it's good to play by their rules.
For sure. What kind of mistakes do you think people make when they are starting social media or make in general on social media?
So one thing that I see people doing a lot when they're on social media, so let's say you've done all the other stuff we've talked about, you know who you're trying to reach, you've gotten on a platform and you're starting to post content. One of, I think, the most common mistakes that I see is people only talking about themselves, their products, and their services. While it's important that people know what you do, really social media is about giving and taking value. So if you're only saying every single day, this is me, this is what I do, check this out, people are going to lose interest. So you've got to think about who your audience is and what can you give them of value that keeps them interested in what you're posting.
Right. That's funny because that's exactly what we do. For the most part, we're pushing out other people's message, because we are a podcast. But it's just crazy how valuable that is, that we're here and you are the... this is your specialty and we're talking to you about it because this will provide, everybody else value, and people appreciate that.
Yeah. And one thing that I see pool builders doing is you've got to think about the audience that you're trying to reach. So if you're a pool builder and if you're on social media because you want for clients and potential clients to see your work and to come to you when they're ready to build a pool, think about what it is that they'd want to see. So they're probably not as interested in the new pump or the new technology that you're using or the construction photos. That stuff will probably really appeal to your peers and other pool builders, but you might lose interest if you're doing too much of that from that audience that you got on social media to reach. So make sure that you always have that big picture goal in mind of who it is that you're trying to get to on social media.
Yeah, most definitely. I think because sometimes all you see is swimming pools on profiles, and we really respect that and love all the pools, but it'd be really cool to get some more history on the brand and even the community you live in. I want to know that you're in Scottsdale. Show me the coolest restaurant there that I could relate to and want to comment and engage with. Because at the end of the day, if you are in a particular city that you want to work in and you're trying to keep work there, like, why not do things with that's familiar there? Maybe you're in some high-end yoga class, or you're at this gym, or you're going to this event at Westworld, which is our big facility for different things. Those are all things that you can put the location on, you can hashtag, and you actually get the opportunity to be a part of that hashtag file. And hey, yeah, I was there too, great time, blah blah blah. You get that back and forth. You're not, hey, glad you're here, I sell pools or whatever it may be, but like you get to be a part of it because it's like you work here, you might live there, all these different things. So, just kind of being in and out of just being real. I think in having a brand and being a company profile though, you should, have probably better, maybe edited photos and things like that. I think that is the difference, is that you kind of show off more that you're real, but you're kind of making it a slightly more glamorous, putting a little bit more effort into it, because I think it needs to be a little bit, more tactical. So since we're on the topic of content, do you think that, photos and videos need to be expensive, or can you kind of do things on your phone and stuff?
So have you guys seen the new Apple commercial? That is their whole campaign that they're running right now is called Shot on an iPhone. Yeah. And they're putting together TV commercials that they're putting who knows how much money into. And at the end, you see all these great pictures and videos, and at the end it says shot on an iPhone. I think that's like living proof that you are capable of doing your own content for social media. Right. We actually polled some people recently, and we were really surprised that there was like a 50-50 mix. We asked the question, do you prefer to see high quality edited professional quality photos when you're on social media, or do you prefer to see real life, like user generated content? It was really a 50-50 split. So I think finding that balance, I think you should absolutely have some high quality photography, but that doesn't have to be everything. I think, we all have great cameras in our pocket. So just kind of learn a little bit about how to get a good angle. Pay attention to the details. So if you're taking a picture of the pool, make sure that, the net isn't laying on the side or it's not dirty or anything like that. But as long as you kind of pay attention, you are perfectly capable of getting a really good quality photo that is great on social media.
Yeah, most definitely. And that was back to what you were saying, and following a lot of, companies and people that, you really enjoy their profiles. Like, what is it about their profile that you like so much? And, using those. I always talk about, I have a separate account where it's just, brands that I like. That's all it is brands that I like. So that when I go to that feed, I know that the stuff that McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Filson and all these different brands and Sony, everything that they're pushing out is on the up and up. They have the budget, the marketing budget to do all these different things. So getting that inspiration for content and what they're doing in their stories and IGTV and all this different stuff, even on Facebook, is super important. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's crazy what you can do just on your phone. I think in terms of marketing, your phone is the most important tool that we have.
Absolutely, yeah. And then also on the note of content, I would say as you're posting this content, no matter if you take it yourself or if you get it professionally done, tag. So tag the people who you're working with, especially if you're in a business relationship and your vendors are in this photo, their products. Make sure that you're tagging them. It's just another way to engage. If it's a customer's pool who you just finished, tag them. I think customers would love that. And it's just an opportunity for more people to see your content and to repost it and get excited and share it themselves.
Right. That can be so difficult in our industry, but I think in tagging as many people as you can, I think, there's so many moving parts in a pool. You have like builders and designers and interior designers and all the different, subcontractors that it took to make this beautiful pool. And sometimes it gets a little fuzzy, but I think at the end of the day, where that picture came from is, you need to at least tag that person. But, if there's a way to know, who they tagged as the photographer or something else, I think that is really important in trying to give as much kudos to the people that made that backyard photo actually happen.
So, something that comes along with posting, and as your account grows, you're probably always going to deal with some type of negative comment that comes here and there. How do you suggest that people handle that?
So first of all, don't panic, because I think that's a lot of people's initial reaction. It's going to happen. If you're putting stuff out into the world, there's going to be people who like it, people who don't like it. The bigger you grow, the more people are going to try to throw stones at what you're doing, if you will. So be prepared for negative comments. They're inevitable. I would say always take a good hard look at what it is that they are criticizing or calling out. Do kind of a self-check on that. But then when it comes to responding, I would say be confident in your product and in your service. My point of view has actually recently changed on this due to some recent experiences here at Ledge Lounger. So when we got negative comments, we used to kind of shy away from them, leave them alone, and kind of hope that the positives would outweigh the negatives, but not to draw too much attention to them. But recently we decided to change our approach to that and to be really confident in our products and aim to educate people when they leave a negative comment. So there is still a very big difference between clarifying and arguing. So you've got to know where that line is, and you never want to start an argument with someone on social media. But an example that we encounter at Ledge Lounger a lot is about price. On just about every picture that we post, people comment about the price, and people might say, "Why are they so expensive?" Or "I just finished my pool and I can't pay that much for a chase." Well, our response to them now is, well, here's why it's worth that much money, and here's what you're getting for it, and here's the value that it's going to bring back to you. And in most scenarios where we've tried that, they've responded with, "Oh, thanks, I didn't realize that. Sounds great." So it's been a really positive outcome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that makes total sense, and taking the time to educate them on your product, be confident in it, because you're now thinking also about the people that are going to see that comment. Because a lot of people are going to read that negative comment, and if you have a good response to it, and if you're lucky, they might say what you just said, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Cool." Like you just like created an FAQ within your comments, which is pretty awesome. I mean, that's really, the whole point of social media. Sometimes it can't be all positive. Sometimes there's going to be a little bit of that, but you got to be prepared. But the cool thing is maybe you kind of do have that FAQ handy so that every time it comes through, you can kind of respond to that much, much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. If we find a response that works, we're absolutely probably going to use it multiple times. And then a lot of times I think people just want to be heard on social media. So they'd much rather get a response than just be ignored, because at least it shows like, hey, we care about what you're saying, and we've taken this into consideration, and this is important to us.
Yeah. I just don't like when people are flat out rude. Yeah. They don't really understand that so much when they flat out say that somebody sucks, or, it's like, dude, it's just not cool.
Yeah.
Especially for our community. Like, you can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how we talk here. I don't go on your page and say that, "Oh, that sucks. I'm just trying to be funny." Well, maybe that's funny with your group of people, but that's not funny here. Like, we're trying to bring the industry up, and we're not talking like that.
There's a way to help people without being rude like that. You can teach somebody or say, "Hey, I might have done it this way," or do it in a private DM or message.
Yeah.
Where it's not so public and, embarrassing for people.
So I think a good example, we just posted a blog on Yelp, and the banter myself and Josh McCarthy had on there about, he didn't like it so much, and he kind of voiced his opinion, but it was done very professionally. It was really good, the banter we had back and forth, because he was very respectful, but got his opinion across, which is, I didn't like it, but I was definitely open-minded about it because you guys talk about it quite a bit, blah, 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 blah. And we just had real good discussion back and forth. And then, of course, somebody came on and said, "I hate, Yelp, blah, 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 blah. It's not good for anything except finding restaurants." And, that was, thank you for your feedback. But it's like that hate, word, that's not really necessary to have to say all that.
Yeah, you kind of have to have it on your radar too, that there are cases when people are just looking for an argument. Yeah. And that's when you just don't engage.
Yeah. And if you think you have it bad, go on, man, there's so many profiles, and I'm like, dang, there's, profiles that have, 1 million followers, and it's all negative.
Yeah.
You go on the Hypebeast at all? Like their forum thread? Oh my gosh. There's you'll be lucky at thousands of comments if there's one positive thing in it, but it's still getting traction. So
there's a lot to be learned too, in kind of, from some of those comments, if they're not obviously super rude. Like you said earlier in a picture, if you're taking a picture and you have a net laying on the ground, and somebody comments on that or points it out, like, it's a way to learn, like, oh, maybe next time I shouldn't take a picture with a dirty net or a dirty pool. Even if it's done the right way, then, it can be a learning experience for you in how to take photos and how to edit them and share them. And you can use some of that to make yourself better too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we get, like I said, a lot of comments about price. Well, that tells us that we need to do a better job at educating consumers on why our prices are set the way that we are. So there's absolutely something to be learned, especially if you see patterns in what people are saying.
Yeah. So what are some of the tools that you find helpful when it comes to social media?
So I think a scheduling tool is absolutely critical. And what I mean by a scheduling tool is it's a platform where you can go and you can plan like a week at a time or a month at a time, and you drop in all of the photos that you want to post and you write the captions in one sitting, and then you say what time and what day that you want them to post. Because without that, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll remember to do it. I'm going to be at the job site later and I'll remember to pull out my phone and take a picture. Well, guess what? You probably won't, because you're going to get busy and things happen, and it's really easy to push social media to the bottom of the priority list. But if you have a scheduling tool, then you don't have to worry about that. Your post can just, you can think about it, you can plan it, you can be strategic, and then you'll be set for a week or a few days at a time. Hootsuite is one of the best ones on the market. Tailwind is another one, but there's a ton of options out there depending on what platform you're on and how many posts you're trying to do.
Right. That's really good. That if you can take the time to learn how to use those, I think that is an excellent tool. It'll save you a ton of time, and you're getting the right content out, and you can kind of go out and shoot photo videos and do the things that you want to do. And then I think it's cool because you could probably take more time with the creative writing part, because you might have the photos and things that you want, and maybe you can take more time in putting the best caption out, using the right, emojis and hashtags and all those different things, that all the different elements that make a good post to get that traction. You can actually take the time to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
What are some of the, photo editing programs you guys use?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to share that. Kidding. I know. I'll share a couple. So for editing photo, forever has always been Visco. There's nothing else besides Visco. And if it's something more high res for Facebook website, it's going to be Adobe Lightroom, and we're on the cloud. So if you get on a cloud package for Adobe, you can get different editing things. But one that's, we don't use this like a ton, but this is excellent for anybody that's trying to make some things disappear in a picture. It's called Retouch. And I'll share a story on how Retouch was used. I don't know if it's either free or maybe a couple bucks, but we're at the Florida show, actually, when we met you for the first time a couple years ago, maybe the international show in Orlando. And we were at a nice little hotel, and there was a swimming pool, a bunch of people by the swimming pool, and we were on the second or third floor. And I got this amazing photo, but there was a large kid that was kind of ruining my photo. So what I did was I brought that app in and I circled him and made him disappear, and it blended in the travertine and all that good stuff. So I made him disappear. So how that can be applied in pool service is you got that right photo, but a slight breeze came by that you didn't see, and that leaf fell into the pool. You can, circle it, make it disappear, and voila, that pool is gorgeous. That's what it's used for.
That's awesome.
I'm not saying you can stop cleaning pools, really well. It's just, it sure does help in certain situations.
Yeah. I mean, that's great too, that you have that kind of tool at your fingertips and you can use it on your phone and on the fly, because I'm really fortunate here at Ledge Laundry that we have a whole team who does those kind of things. So we have a graphic designer, and we have a PR and social media coordinator, and I have an awesome team who makes all of our content look great and executes and knows all of those skills, but not everybody has that. So the fact that that app, was it free?
I don't remember.
If not,
I have it right now. It was definitely worth it, even if it was a couple bucks, but it very well might be free.
A couple bucks, and you can do those kind of
Kyle
things.
says it's $2.
It's $2? $1.99? $1.99. All right. Thank you. You the man, Kyle. No, I think Photoshop and Illustrator and all those are excellent and is a must for a lot of other things. But if you're doing stuff on the fly, don't be afraid to, in your head be like, man, I wish there was something that could help me do this or make this go away or da-da-da-da-da. Like the only way we found anything was Googling it or going into the App Store and maybe typing in the problem, because believe me, you are not the only one that has some of these problems, and just testing it out. What is it to test out something for free? Download it, see if it works. If not, scrap it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it does work, you might have just saved yourself a whole bunch of time. So, influencers are becoming a big trend, especially for lifestyle brands. And they do some good things and some other not so good things. Are they expensive, and how are you utilizing them?
So when done correctly, I think influencers is one of the most effective things that you can do in marketing today. And an influencer is just finding someone, a third party, to promote your brand or your product. It establishes third-party credibility because it gives you somebody else's point of view on your business. And it also helps you reach new audiences because when you hire an influencer, the idea is that you're looking for someone with a really big following who's going to tell their following about your product. So it opens all sorts of new doors that you can't open yourself. Now, they really go across the board in terms of expensive. So you can find micro influencers, which tend to be a smaller following, and they might be locally based. That can be less expensive. And then you can also, if you want to, and if you think it's worth it, pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get a big celebrity to be an influencer. Again, I would think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what you really need out of this. So especially if you're a local business and you market to one market, I think you could find a micro influencer. So you guys are in Phoenix. There's probably bloggers in Phoenix or news anchors or radio personalities who have a lot of influence within the Phoenix market that you could go after. And then other accounts, like if you're selling nationwide like we are, then you might want to go after a bigger account who reaches 1 million people. But they've been really, really effective for us. One thing that I would warn people about going into an influencer relationship is to be prepared. Try to think of everything that could go wrong by turning your brand over into someone else's hands, and then put that in a contract and make sure it's spelled out ahead of time. We have some good influencer stories where things have gone wrong and we've learned from it. So, for example, not too long ago, we sent some product to an influencer because she herself had this really big following, and she looked like a good fit for our brand, and her demographics were in line with us. And we had her take some pictures with the product and send them back to us. And she sent us all pictures of her kid. And we're like, we didn't do this to get pictures of your kids. We did this to get pictures of you. So just make sure that you're spelling those kind of things out. So we want pictures with you in them, or we want pictures without you in them, or we want pictures of your family at home, or we want you using the product this way, just because you never know what can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy how specific you would have to be, especially if most of the stuff you saw of them was of them.
Exactly. It was completely off brand, and it was something that we didn't anticipate, but now it's in our influencer contract. We've also had influencers post, and the post might look great, and then like the next day we go back to it and they've edited the caption and taken us out of it. And it's like, wait a minute, we paid you for this and we gave you the product to promote us, not just for 24 hours, for the duration of the photo. So we started building those things into the contract too. Yeah. How long does the photo stay up, and can you edit it after it's posted, and all sorts of things. So just anticipate what could go wrong if you're going to go after an influencer relationship. Once you figure that out, the benefits can be huge if it's executed correctly.
Yeah, I know we see things on, just even the 50-second slot on the stories. And you don't know for sure, but some people, even like women, will, do 15 seconds on makeup, and they have an insane following. And we can't help but think that probably was the most expensive 15 seconds, like, Kobe Bryant level, because you got, 10, 15, millions and millions of followers, and you just talked about, this makeup for 15 seconds. That is insane, the reach that you have. I don't even think there's probably some networks that don't even have that reach on a normal, like just a normal average day. You know what I mean? For that exact demographic.
Yeah, and that's why I think it can be so effective, because you're right. TV is so fragmented that if you pay for a TV spot, it's going to cost you the same amount. You may or may not be getting the same amount of eyeballs, but you have to be so intentional as a person on social media that if you're watching an Instagram story, you're watching an Instagram story. It's not like something on in the background while you're making dinner. Your eyeballs are on that screen. And I think that's why people are willing to pay what they're willing to pay for an influencer for 15 seconds of a plug.
Yeah. And the stats are just crazy with, when people actually do watch TV, commercials come on, they go right to their phone. And it's usually Instagram that they go to.
Yeah.
And even the people that are... It's crazy, the stats between social media, podcasting, and subscription, things like Amazon Prime and Netflix and other things like that they don't want. They like the ads and they like being sold, but in a way that people do it on Instagram and they do it on all these different channels. It's just done more subliminally, and they can move past it much faster. If you're watching a TV show, you really don't have a choice. There's no swipe up, be done with it, get on. Like, it's just you watch it for the next. And the commercials, I feel like I don't really watch TV too much, but every time I go back in, the commercials are getting longer and longer.
Yep.
I'm like, damn, I just went outside, mowed the grass, came back, there's still commercials going on? Like, what is going on? Jeez.
I think that's because the price for them is going down and they have to squeeze more in now.
Yeah.
So somebody that's just getting started with wanting to know more about their data, their users, demographics, all that good stuff for, say, Instagram, what's the best way to get started with checking those numbers out?
So Instagram makes it pretty easy to find some really useful stats about your audience. If you have a business account on Instagram, if you just go to your profile page and then click the 3 lines in the top right corner, it kind of looks like a hamburger. It's called a hamburger menu. You click that and then click the first option, which is Insights. And then you'll be taken to this page that's going to tell you what time of day are your followers online the most, what day of the week are they online the most, how old are they male, are they female, what city are they in. Just by accessing that data, you're going to get a lot of insight that could either solidify who you think your audience is, or it could push you in a different direction.
Right. Thank you. And Kyle brought up a good point over here in that, you can't do any of that on your personal page. So if you have it set up as a personal, you're going to go to that hamburger menu and go to settings. And then you're going to want to make that a business page, because it needs to be a business page in order to get all those stats.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. What do you think has been your biggest success story?
So when I think about my biggest success, really what comes to mind is my team. We absolutely would not be where we are today without the team that I have behind me. It's a team of really talented, really skilled people who challenge each other and who challenge me every single day. It's been amazing to see that grow from a team of 1 to a team of 4. And honestly, it's so much more rewarding to see my team accomplishing things than it ever was to be a team of 1. I love seeing what they do every single day, and I'm just always in awe of the team that we have behind us. So biggest success story, hands down, is the team that we have here at Ledge Lounger.
Yeah, that's really cool of you to say, because just being here the last, few days has been really cool, the way you all mesh together, especially the marketing team. You guys have a good thing going on here.
Thank you.
So have there been any books or podcasts that have helped you along your way?
Absolutely. I love reading. I love learning. I'm also a really big podcast person. I have a really long commute, so I get a lot of podcast time in. So one that I'd like to recommend to everyone for marketing is a book and a podcast called A Story Brand. You could read the book if you like books. If not, he has a weekly podcast where he actually talks about a specific marketing objective, and he even analyzes people's websites live. So you can kind of get some really good practical marketing advice from that. I also really like the book that I just finished recently called Getting Things Done. It's all about being more efficient and more organized, and how to really do more with less stress, which I think is so important in today's world. Aside from that, a few of my favorite books are Start With Why, which is Simon Sinek. Everybody loves Simon Sinek. Again, a really good marketing book about figuring out why you're in the business you're in and never forgetting why you're doing what you're doing.
That's like a good one to just have on repeat, like once a year or something. It's just a good book to go back to. Because I've probably watched him on TED Talks or just read the book quite a few times because it's just a good reminder of, paying attention to why you're doing what you do.
Exactly. And that's a great idea too, is that you don't always have to read the book because everybody doesn't have time to read books, but TED Talks are great. And a lot of times you can get the gist of a book in like 10 minutes with a YouTube video.
Yeah, especially his TED Talks is really cool because you get to really see that enthusiasm, and he has like his facial expressions. I feel like that helps in just watching him speak about that. And I think he's got like the whiteboard, or he's got the paper that he's writing on when explaining it. It's really cool.
So another one of my favorite books is Lean In. It's kind of known for being a book for women, but I would say it's not just for women. And I would encourage anybody who has daughters or is married or employs women or manages women to read Lean In. It's a really great book about kind of the differences in how men and women are viewed in the workplace. That's another favorite of mine. I really like the Pool Chasers podcast too, and this isn't a plug. I really enjoy it, and I think what you guys are doing for the industry is a great thing. I think podcasts are the next wave of marketing and the next way to reach people, and it's great that you guys are trying to do that specifically for this industry.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
So thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for having us here at Ledge Lounger. We've had an incredible time with you guys, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for making the trip down to Texas. Hopefully it wasn't too hot down here for you guys, but come back anytime. It was great visiting with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to find out more about our guests or the sponsors of the show, you can check them out on the links we have provided in the write-up below. We have also provided links to our social media platforms, so please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our tag is Pool Chasers. If the podcast has brought you any value, please do what you can to support us through our Patreon page by going to patreon.com/poolchasers. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to be updated each time a new episode is released. One last thing. If you're not yet in our Facebook group, join it today to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are all trying to better the industry. Thank you all for the support. We appreciate your time and your ear.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.